The arrival. It was an ordinary evening on Earth when the skies changed forever. The clouds parted, not for rain, but to reveal something far more terrifying. Gigantic alien warships, dark and metallic, hovered silently over the world's greatest cities. They seemed to stretch endlessly, their massive shadows covering entire neighborhoods. People froze, staring at the sky, their hearts pounding with fear and uncertainty. The ships didn't attack immediately. Instead, a strange hum filled the air, vibrating through the atmosphere. Radios, televisions, and every device with a screen flickered to life. A cold, emotionless voice spoke in perfect human languages. "We are the Chlorith. Surrender your planet. Resistance is useless. Your survival depends on your cooperation." The message repeated on a loop, drilling fear into the minds of billions. People screamed. Cars crashed as drivers stopped in shock. In New York, London, Beijing, and countless other cities, chaos erupted. Governments scrambled to respond, but it was clear Earth was outmatched. Yet, far from the chaos of the cities, in a quiet mountain town surrounded by dense forests, there was no panic. The people there stood on their porches or gathered in small groups, watching the alien ships with a mix of curiosity and dread. Among them, a lone figure stood at the edge of a cliff, gazing at the sky with calm, piercing eyes. He was tall, far taller than any man in the town, with broad shoulders and a presence that made him seem almost otherworldly. His name was Adam, though most people in the town knew very little about him. He had arrived years ago, living a solitary life in a cabin deep in the woods. As the alien message continued to broadcast, Adam didn't flinch. He simply stared at the largest ship, which hung like a predator over the capital city miles away. A small smirk appeared on his face. "I knew this day would come," he muttered, his voice low but filled with certainty. The townspeople whispered among themselves. They had always found Adam strange, too quiet, too distant, and far too large for an ordinary man. But now, with the world on the brink of destruction, some felt an odd sense of safety just knowing he was there. "Adam." An old man from the town called out, his voice trembling. "What do we do? Should we run?" Adam turned slowly, his eyes meeting the man's. There was no fear in his gaze, only resolve. "Running won't help. They're not here to negotiate. They're here to conquer." A young woman in the crowd, clutching her child tightly, cried out, "But what can we do? They're too powerful. Did you hear their message? Resistance is useless." Adam stepped closer, his towering figure casting a shadow over the group. He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "That's what they want you to believe," he said softly. "But humans are stronger than they think. You'll see." The hum in the air grew louder, and suddenly, bright beams of light shot down from the alien ships, marking the beginning of their invasion. Smaller crafts, sleek and deadly, descended from the motherships, scanning the ground below. One of them hovered over the mountain town, its eerie green light passing over the group. The townspeople screamed, ducking for cover. But Adam stood firm, his eyes locked on the alien craft. It stopped, as if sensing something unusual about him. A mechanical voice echoed from the ship. "Identify yourself. Human male. Anomaly detected." Adam smiled, his calm demeanor unsettling even in the face of danger. He raised his hand, gesturing for the ship to come closer. "You came all this way," he said, his voice steady, "and you still don't understand what you're dealing with." The alien craft hesitated, its lights flickering as if confused. Then, in a burst of speed, it darted toward Adam, attempting to seize him with a glowing energy beam. But Adam moved faster. With a leap that defied human limits, he grabbed hold of the craft's underside, his massive hands crushing its metallic frame. Sparks flew as the alien ship struggled to break free, but Adam held firm, his strength overpowering its advanced technology. The townspeople watched in stunned silence as Adam hurled the damaged craft into the forest, where it exploded in a fiery blast. The ground shook, and for a moment, There was only silence. Adam turned back to the group, brushing dust off his hands. "Stay here," he said firmly. "This fight is just beginning." As he walked away toward the woods, the people stared after him, their fear replaced by awe. Who was this man? What was he? Above them, the alien ships adjusted their positions, as if aware that something had gone terribly wrong. The voice from the motherships returned, this time with a hint of uncertainty. "Anomaly detected. Human presence. Unexpected. Reinforcements required." In that quiet mountain town, Adam disappeared into the shadows of the forest, preparing for what was to come. The battle for Earth had begun, and humanity's spirit, embodied in this mysterious man, was far from broken. First contact. The alien ships hung in the sky like silent gods, watching and waiting. The cities below trembled, their streets eerily quiet except for the occasional burst of sirens and distant shouts. Humanity's leaders had fallen silent, their broadcasts replaced by static. It was as if the whole world held its breath. But far from the major cities, deep in the forests of the mountain town, something else stirred. Adam stood at the edge of a wide clearing, gazing at the horizon. He could hear the distant hum of alien engines, feel the vibrations in the ground beneath his feet. The air was thick, almost electric, and the clouds above swirled unnaturally. The townspeople had retreated to their homes, but Adam hadn't followed. He knew the aliens would come, not for the town, but for him. And they didn't disappoint. From the sky, 3 sleek alien crafts descended, their dark metal reflecting the pale light of the moon. They hovered silently above the clearing, their green scanning beams sweeping the forest like predatory eyes. The largest of the 3, positioned directly above Adam, hummed louder as if recognizing him. A voice, distorted and mechanical, echoed from the ships. "Human detected. Energy signature irregular. Identify." Adam remained still, his gaze locked on the ships. He didn't answer. "Human. Identify." The demand came again, louder this time. The ships lowered, the nearest one casting a long beam of light directly over Adam, illuminating him like a prisoner caught escaping. Still, he didn't move. The voice switched to a different tone, more urgent. "Compliance required. Failure to respond will result in termination." Adam's lips twitched into a faint smile. He lifted his gaze to the largest craft and spoke, his voice calm and clear. "You don't belong here." For a moment, there was silence. The ships didn't respond immediately, as if processing his words. Then the beam of light shifted, growing brighter. "Hostile intent detected. Prepare for extraction." The closest craft extended mechanical limbs from its underbelly, sleek metal arms that crackled with energy. It was quick, quicker than most humans could react. But not Adam. As the alien arms shot forward, Adam moved. His feet barely seemed to touch the ground as he leaped, his massive form rising into the air with unnatural speed. He caught one of the arms mid-strike, gripping it with both hands. The ship jolted violently, trying to pull away. Adam didn't let go. His muscles tensed, veins bulging beneath his skin. With a grunt, he twisted the arm sharply to the side. Metal screeched as the limb snapped free, sparks cascading to the ground. The ship wobbled in the air, unbalanced by the sudden loss. Its lights flickered erratically. The other 2 crafts immediately shifted into attack mode, their weapons charging. Adam didn't wait. Before the second ship could fire, he hurled the broken mechanical arm like a spear. It struck the second craft's hull with such force that the metal crumpled inward, sending the ship spiraling out of control. The remaining alien craft hovered at a distance, reluctant to engage. It circled slowly, scanning the clearing, unsure of what it was facing. Adam stepped forward, his shadow stretching across the clearing. His gaze locked onto the final craft, his eyes glowing faintly beneath the moonlight. "Leave," he commanded, his voice low but carrying weight. For a long moment, the alien craft remained still, hovering just out of reach. Then, with a mechanical whir, it retreated, rising higher into the sky until it disappeared among the stars. Adam exhaled slowly, his fists relaxing at his sides. The forest around him returned to silence, but he knew this was just the beginning. The aliens weren't retreating. They were regrouping. Far above, in the vastness of space, the alien mothership received the report. The crew of the surviving scout ship transmitted images of Adam, standing alone in the clearing, destroying their forces with ease. The alien commander, a tall, thin being with piercing silver eyes, watched the footage in silence. Its elongated fingers tapped against a control panel. Unexpected, the commander muttered in its own language. The humans have a weapon we did not anticipate. A subordinate approached cautiously. Shall we increase forces? The commander's eyes narrowed. Not yet. Observe him. Learn his weakness. Back on Earth, Adam returned to the mountain town, his steps heavy but steady. The people peeked through their windows as he passed, whispering in hushed tones. They didn't know what he was, but for the first time since the invasion began, they felt hope. Adam paused at the edge of the town, his gaze drifting to the stars. They're watching me, he thought. Good. Let them watch. For Adam wasn't just a man. He was humanity's answer to those who thought they could conquer Earth. The warning. The alien craft hovered silently over the treetops, its dark silhouette blending with the night sky. A low hum echoed across the mountain valley, vibrating through the ground like the pulse of an angry god. From the edge of the forest, Adam stood watching, his arms crossed over his chest, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. The town below him remained quiet. The people had gathered in their homes, peering nervously through windows, unsure whether to feel relief or fear. They had seen Adam fight. They had seen him rip apart alien machines with his bare hands, but they didn't know why or how. Neither did the aliens. The mothership, far above Earth's atmosphere, had received the disturbing report. The destruction of their scout ships wasn't expected. In every other world they had conquered, resistance crumbled within days. Earth should have been no different. But now, a single human stood in defiance, breaking their technology like it was made of glass. Commander, the anomaly persists, the silver-eyed alien officer reported, bowing before his leader. The one they call Adam has resisted all attempts at extraction. Scouts have been lost. The commander's gaze remained fixed on the holographic image of Adam displayed before him. The alien's thin fingers twitched in irritation. He is not like the others, the commander replied coolly. He's larger, enhanced. The officer hesitated. Enhanced by whom? The commander's eyes narrowed. By their own kind. The room fell silent. No one dared speak. The implications were disturbing. Humans enhancing themselves, evolving beyond their limits, was not something the Xoreth had prepared for. Deploy a second wave, the commander ordered at last. Bring him to me. Alive. Back on Earth, Adam returned to the town square, his footsteps heavy against the cracked pavement. A small crowd had gathered despite the danger, their faces pale in the glow of lanterns and fire pits. They'd whispered as he approached. An old man, the town's unofficial leader, stepped forward. His hands trembled as he spoke. Adam, what did we just see? What are you? Adam's eyes softened for a brief moment, but the weight of the situation lingered in his gaze. I'm just a man, he replied. But a long time ago, I was chosen for something different. The crowd leaned in, desperate for answers. Adam glanced up at the sky, where faint glimmers of alien ships moved in the distance. His voice grew low, almost a whisper, but it carried enough weight to hush the entire square. The Xoreth aren't the first invaders, he began. A century ago, they tried before. Only a few of us survived their first arrival. But instead of falling apart, humanity fought back. We built something, someone, to stand between them and this planet. I was one of them. A young boy's voice broke the silence. Are there more of you? Adam's gaze darkened. There were. Not anymore. Murmurs spread through the crowd, but Adam raised a hand, silencing them. Listen to me, he said firmly. The Xoreth believe Earth is weak. They think our fear makes us easy to conquer. But they don't know who we are. They don't understand what humanity is capable of when pushed to the edge. His words struck something deep within the crowd, a spark of defiance long buried beneath years of complacency. What do we do now? The old man asked. Adam's eyes flickered back to the horizon, where a new formation of alien ships descended from the sky, smaller but faster than before. Now, Adam said, his voice calm yet unyielding. Now we show them exactly what they're up against. The second wave came faster than expected. The alien ships landed just outside the town limits, their metallic forms slithering over the ground like serpents. Tall, skeletal alien soldiers emerged, their bodies encased in shimmering armor that pulsed with energy. They moved silently, their glowing weapons raised. Adam stood at the edge of the town, alone. The aliens approached cautiously, sensing the power radiating from him. One stepped forward, raising the glowing staff. Adam of Earth, the alien rasped in its native tongue. You are an anomaly. Surrender now, and your town will not be harmed. Adam's eyes narrowed. No. The alien soldiers stiffened, their weapons charging. You misunderstand the situation, human. The soldier warned. This is not a negotiation. Adam stepped forward, his voice like thunder. Neither is this. With blinding speed, Adam crossed the field. The nearest alien soldier barely had time to react before Adam's fist collided with its chest, sending it flying backward in a blur of sparks and shattered armor. The other soldiers opened fire, their energy blasts cutting through the air. Adam twisted, dodging effortlessly, moving faster than their targeting systems could track. With a single strike, he shattered another alien weapon, ripping it from the soldiers' hands and turning it against them. In minutes, the second wave lay in ruins. Adam lowered the alien weapon, letting it fall to the ground. He turned toward the mothership, far above the clouds. You wanted to see me, Adam muttered under his breath. I'm coming for you. Far above, the Xoreth commander watched the footage in silence. For the first time in his long reign, he felt something cold. Fear, the first strike. The alien mothership loomed above Earth's atmosphere, a silent predator watching from the darkness of space. Its jagged edges glistened like black steel, rotating slowly as smaller crafts descended to the planet below. From its observation deck, the Xoreth commander watched with narrowed eyes, his silver pupils glowing faintly against his pale skin. The second wave of soldiers had failed. Their crushed bodies now lay scattered across the mountain town's outskirts, victims of a force the Xoreth hadn't accounted for. Adam. Commander, one of his officers said, bowing deeply, Adam has destroyed the landing party. He is faster than the scanners predicted. Stronger. The commander didn't flinch. His gaze remained fixed on Earth, his fingers tapping rhythmically against the edge of his command chair. I underestimated him, the commander muttered. That was a mistake. I will not make it twice. He rose slowly, his long figure casting an imposing shadow over the control room. Deploy the hunters, he ordered. The officers hesitated for a brief moment. The hunters were not mere soldiers. They were the elite, biological weapons bred for one purpose: annihilation. Is it wise to reveal them so soon, Commander? One officer asked cautiously. Adam may not be the only anomaly. If the humans see the hunters, they will not live long enough to tell the others. The commander interrupted coldly. Adam will die tonight, and his world will follow. Back on Earth, the forest was quiet. Too quiet. Adam stood alone at the edge of the woods, staring at the smoking wreckage of the alien crafts he had torn apart earlier. The townspeople remained hidden, their fear keeping them inside. But Adam didn't blame them. He could feel it, the shift in the air, the way the trees seemed to shrink as if nature itself sensed what was coming. The Xoreth weren't finished. They're watching me, Adam thought. Good. Let them come. A faint hum echoed from above. Adam's eyes flickered upward just as three dark, angular shapes broke through the clouds. These ships were different, smaller, sleeker, and faster. They didn't descend lazily like the others. They shot toward the ground with terrifying speed, slicing through the air like falling blades. Hunters. Adam whispered, his fists tightening. The ships landed without a sound, pressing into the earth like vultures settling over prey. Their hatches slid open, and out stepped creatures unlike anything the townspeople had seen before. They were tall, nearly Adam's height, but their bodies were twisted, skeletal, and unnaturally thin. Their skin was jet black, smooth, and reflective, as if carved from obsidian. Long, clawed fingers twitched at their sides, and their eyeless faces turned toward Adam as though sensing his presence. Bioweapons. Adam remembered them from long ago. The Xoreth didn't always rely on machines. When technology failed, they unleashed creatures like these, things that could think, hunt, and adapt. The largest of the three hunters stepped forward, tilting its head as if studying Adam. It crouched slightly, claws scraping against the dirt. "You're wasting your time," Adam called out, his voice calm but unwavering. "I've faced worse." The hunter didn't respond. It charged. In an instant, the creature closed the distance between them, its claws slashing toward Adam's chest. But Adam was faster. He ducked low, sidestepping the strike, and delivered a powerful punch to the hunter's ribcage. The impact sent the creature skidding backward. But it didn't fall. Instead, it straightened and let out a strange guttural growl. The two other hunters flanked Adam, circling him like wolves. Adam exhaled slowly, rolling his shoulders. 3 against 1. I like those odds. The next attack came like lightning. One hunter lunged from behind, claws aimed for Adam's back, but he twisted at the last second, catching the creature by its wrist. In one fluid motion, Adam lifted the hunter into the air and slammed it into the ground with bone-shattering force. Before he could recover, the largest hunter struck from the front, slashing across Adam's chest. The blow tore his shirt, leaving deep marks on his skin, but Adam didn't flinch. He grabbed the creature's arm, twisting it violently until a sickening crack echoed through the forest. "You're not the first to try," Adam said, his voice low. "And you won't be the last." The final hunter hesitated for the first time, its reflective skin shimmering under the moonlight. Adam smirked. "Go on. Run back to your masters. Tell them Earth isn't as weak as they thought." But the creature didn't flee. It lunged again, desperate, reckless. Adam ended it with a single punch, driving his fist through the creature's chest, shattering it from the inside out. The hunter's body crumpled at his feet, lifeless and broken. Silence returned to the clearing. Adam wiped his hand on his torn shirt, glancing at the sky once more. He could feel the Xoreth commander's gaze, even from space. "That was your first strike," Adam muttered. "Now it's my turn." Far above Earth, the Xoreth commander sat motionless in his observation deck, watching the footage with cold, calculating eyes. "Commander," an officer asked nervously. The commander rose, his gaze darkening. "Prepare the full invasion force." This war was far from over. Humanity's hidden power. Smoke still lingered in the air. The twisted bodies of the alien hunters lay in the clearing, broken and unmoving. The forest was silent, save for the distant rustling of leaves in the wind. Adam stood over the remains, his chest rising and falling with steady breaths. The wounds across his skin, deep, jagged slashes, had already begun to close. But he wasn't smiling. This was too easy. The Xoreth wouldn't send just 3 hunters and hope for victory. No, this was a test, a way to measure his strength. Adam knew that somewhere, far above, the alien commander was watching, taking notes, planning the next move. He gazed up at the stars. They'll come in force soon. I need to be ready. Adam turned back toward the town. The distant lights flickered softly in the dark, and despite everything, he felt a small warmth rise in his chest. Humanity wasn't beaten yet, but they would need more than him to win this fight. In the town square, the people gathered nervously as Adam approached. The crowd parted silently, their eyes wide with uncertainty and awe. Adam's torn shirt barely hung from his shoulders, exposing the crisscross of scars and fresh wounds that told stories none of them could begin to understand. The old man, the town's elder, stepped forward again. His eyes studied Adam carefully. "It's not over, is it?" he asked. Adam shook his head. "No, this was just the beginning. They'll come back, stronger." The elder's face tightened. He glanced at the others. "How long do we have?" Adam's gaze drifted toward the horizon. "Hours, maybe less." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Fear tightened around them like a noose. A woman clutched her child tightly, while others whispered prayers under their breath. "We can't fight them," someone said. "We're farmers, builders. We're not soldiers." Adam's eyes hardened. He stepped forward, his voice carrying over the crowd with the weight of steel. "You don't need to be soldiers." The murmurs stopped. All eyes turned toward him. "Listen carefully," Adam said, his tone calm but powerful. "The Xoreth have made one mistake. They think humanity is weak. They believe fear will keep you on your knees. But fear isn't the enemy. It's the spark that ignites something greater." He gestured toward the forest behind him, where the alien bodies still smoldered. "I'm not the only one who can fight," Adam continued. "Humanity has survived worse. We've endured plagues, wars, and disasters that wiped out entire civilizations. But we always rise again. We are more than this town. We are more than a handful of survivors." He stepped closer to the crowd, his eyes glowing faintly beneath the moonlight. "Look around you. You've built homes from nothing. You've raised families. Every time the world tried to break you, you stood tall. And you will again." The old man took a step forward. "And if we don't?" Adam met his gaze. "Then we lose everything." The silence was heavy. But this time, it didn't feel hopeless. A shift rippled through the crowd, a flicker of determination beneath the fear. Finally, the elder nodded. "What do you need us to do?" Adam's expression softened. "Prepare. Arm yourselves with whatever you can. Axes, tools, anything sharp or heavy enough to cause damage. When the time comes, you'll know." The crowd dispersed, moving quickly now. Fear still lingered in their eyes, but it was no longer paralyzing. It was fuel. Hours later, Adam stood on a ridge overlooking the valley. The town below glowed faintly with torchlight as the people worked late into the night. Spears made from scrap metal leaned against walls, while hunting rifles and old shotguns were dusted off. Adam smiled faintly. They weren't soldiers, but they were ready to fight. As he turned away, a faint hum vibrated through the air. Adam stopped, his gaze snapping toward the sky. High above the clouds, distant flashes of light flickered, like lightning, but far more deliberate. The invasion fleet had arrived. Adam's fists clenched. It's time. In orbit, the Xoreth commander watched Earth through the mothership's wide observation screen. The hunter footage had been analyzed, dissected, and replayed a dozen times. "So," the commander mused, "the humans have begun to resist." His silver eyes narrowed as the footage of Adam crushing the hunters played once more. "Commander," an officer spoke hesitantly, "should we proceed with orbital bombardment?" The commander shook his head. "No. I want them broken, not wiped out. They must understand the futility of their defiance." His gaze lingered on Adam's face, frozen in the holographic image. "Begin the invasion. And bring me Adam, alive." As the first ships began their descent, Adam stood ready at the edge of the forest, eyes fixed on the stars. Behind him, the townspeople lined the walls they had hastily built, weapons gripped tightly in their hands. The Xoreth thought they were prepared. They thought humanity would break beneath their power. But they didn't understand the fire that burned within every human heart. Adam's grip tightened around a steel rod he had reforged into a weapon. Let them come. The turning point. The first alien craft pierced the clouds at dawn. Its dark silhouette glided silently over the mountains, followed by dozens more, blotting out the rising sun. The Xoreth had come in force. From his position on the ridge, Adam watched as the ships formed a loose perimeter around the town, hovering just beyond the treetops. They weren't attacking, not yet. The Xoreth were waiting, letting fear seep into the hearts of the townspeople like slow poison. But Adam wasn't afraid. He knelt by the edge of the cliff, one hand pressed against the cold earth. He could feel the distant hum of the mothership far above, its presence radiating power like a weight pressing down on the land. They think this will break you, Adam muttered under his breath, his eyes narrowing. But they've already made their mistake. Behind him, the town stirred to life. Men and women, armed with whatever they could find. Axes, hammers, hunting rifles, stood along the wooden barricades they had built overnight. The air was thick with tension, but the spark of defiance Adam had ignited still burned bright. The old man, now wearing a battered coat and holding a rusted shotgun, approached Adam's side. He squinted at the alien ships hovering in the distance. "There's too many," the elder said grimly. "We can't hold them off forever." Adam's gaze didn't waver. "We won't have to." The elder raised a brow. "You have a plan." Adam's lips twitched into a faint smile. "Something like that." Far above Earth, the Xoreth commander stood on the bridge of his mothership, eyes fixed on the town below. The holographic display before him showed the positions of the human defenders. Tiny, fragile figures clustered behind makeshift defenses. The commander's silver eyes narrowed. "Fools," he muttered. "They fight for a world already lost." An officer approached cautiously. "Commander, the invasion force is ready. We await your order." The commander didn't respond immediately. His gaze shifted to the lone figure standing at the edge of the ridge, Adam. Even from orbit, the alien leader could feel the unsettling weight of the man's presence. "Focus fire on him," the commander ordered. "When he falls, the others will scatter." The first shot came without warning. A thin beam of green energy sliced through the morning mist, tearing across the ridge where Adam stood. The blast shattered the rocks beneath his feet, sending debris flying in all directions. But Adam had already moved. Before the beam could strike him directly, he leaped forward, his body a blur of motion. He landed on the field below, dirt and grass crunching beneath his boots. The alien ships adjusted instantly, their turrets swiveling to track him. Energy blasts rained down, carving deep scars into the earth. Trees exploded into splinters, and the air shimmered with heat. Adam weaved between the blasts, his movements impossibly fast for someone his size. In one smooth motion, he snatched a fallen steel rod from the ground, a weapon forged from an old transmission tower the night before. "Let's even the odds," Adam growled. With a single leap, he launched himself into the air, landing atop the nearest alien craft. The ship wobbled violently beneath his weight, but Adam didn't hesitate. He drove the steel rod into its hull, piercing the metal like paper. Sparks erupted as the ship spiraled out of control, crashing into the tree line. The crowd behind the barricades erupted in cheers. But the battle had only just begun. More ships descended, releasing alien soldiers onto the ground. Their black, reflective armor shimmered as they advanced in formation, energy rifles glowing in their hands. The townspeople braced for impact. "Hold the line." Adam's voice roared across the field. "Don't let them pass." The first wave of Xoreth soldiers charged forward. Shotguns cracked and axes swung, but the alien soldiers moved with eerie precision, dodging and counterattacking with brutal efficiency. Adam slammed into their ranks like a force of nature. He grabbed one alien by the arm and hurled it into the others, knocking them down like dominoes. A second soldier lunged at him, claws extended, but Adam met the attack with a devastating punch, sending the creature sprawling. The townspeople fought with everything they had, fear replaced by sheer determination. Farmers, laborers, and elders stood side by side, driving back the invaders step by step. But for every alien that fell, two more took its place. In orbit, the Xoreth commander watched the battle unfold, his eyes narrowing in frustration. "They are holding," an officer reported nervously. "Their resistance is stronger than predicted." The commander's gaze darkened. Increased ground forces overwhelmed them. The officer hesitated. "Commander, if we push too hard, we risk damaging the planet. The Council." "I don't care about the Council," the commander snapped. "Wipe them out." Back on Earth, Adam felt the shift. More alien soldiers descended, pouring onto the battlefield like a black tide. The weight of the invasion pressed heavily against the defenders. Adam stood at the center of the chaos, his breath ragged, his fists bruised. Blood trickled down his arms, but he didn't falter. He could hear the people shouting behind him, struggling to hold the barricades. The line was breaking. Adam's eyes flickered toward the sky, where the mothership lingered like a distant god overseeing the destruction. "Not yet," he thought. "I need more time." Then, from the far side of the town, a second explosion rocked the air. Adam turned sharply, and his eyes widened. They had arrived. Across the ridge, figures moved through the haze. Tall, armored forms, like Adam, descended from the tree line, their eyes burning with the same faint glow. The others had awakened. "We're not alone," Adam whispered, a grin spreading across his face. The tide was turning. Victory and the warning. The battlefield was chaos. Alien soldiers surged forward in endless waves, their black armor glinting beneath the rising sun. The town's defenders, ordinary men and women, stood shoulder to shoulder, battered but unyielding. Smoke filled the air, and the smell of scorched earth clung to the wind. But the moment Adam saw them, the others, he knew everything was about to change. Emerging from the tree line, they moved like shadows, their forms towering and armored, radiating the same quiet strength Adam carried. His brothers and sisters, the hidden giants of Earth. For years, Adam thought he was the last of his kind, the remnants of a forgotten project meant to protect humanity from threats beyond the stars. Yet here they stood, awakening just as the world stood on the edge of extinction. The tallest of them stepped forward, his face partially hidden beneath a cracked metal mask. His eyes, however, shone with the same faint glow Adam carried. "You didn't think we'd let you have all the fun, did you?" the man said, his voice deep and rough with age. Adam smirked. "You're late." "We got held up." The man gestured to the forest behind him, where more figures emerged, at least a dozen. Each carried weapons scavenged from the land, steel rods, heavy iron hammers, and blades reforged from scrap. Adam's chest swelled with something he hadn't felt in years: hope. But the alien forces didn't slow. More Xoreth soldiers descended, and the mothership above began to shift, its lower cannons glowing as they primed for an orbital strike. "They're going to wipe the town out," the elder beside Adam whispered, his grip tightening on his shotgun. "We can't hold much longer." Adam's eyes narrowed. "We won't have to." Far above Earth, the Xoreth commander paced the length of his bridge, his silver eyes burning with frustration. The resistance was stronger than expected. The humans were supposed to crumble, just as they had on other worlds. And yet, here they were, standing against his forces like wolves backed into a corner. "Commander," an officer approached cautiously, "our scans show additional enhanced humans engaging on the ground." This was not anticipated. The commander's gaze flicked toward the holographic display. The image of Adam and his newly arrived companions filled the screen. "Impossible," the commander muttered. We destroyed their kind centuries ago. The officer hesitated. Apparently, not all of them. The commander's fists clenched. If the hunters failed, we'll finish this from orbit. Begin the strike. The officer's eyes widened. Sir, our forces are still on the ground. If we fire now. I am aware, the commander interrupted coldly. They are expendable. Fire the weapon. On Earth. Adam felt the shift before he saw it. The sky above darkened, and a low rumble echoed across the mountains. The alien mothership's cannons glowed brighter, their energy gathering for a single devastating blast. Adam's eyes narrowed. He had seen this before, on other worlds that Xoreth had conquered. They weren't just aiming for the town. They were going to wipe out everything. Get everyone to the caves. Adam shouted, his voice thundering over the battlefield. Now. The townspeople hesitated, but the old man grabbed the nearest villager and pulled him toward the forest. You heard him. Move. As the defenders retreated, Adam turned to the masked giant standing beside him. We need to take that ship down. Now. The masked man nodded, gripping a massive iron hammer slung over his shoulder. I thought you'd never ask. Adam led the charge. The enhanced warriors followed, their footfalls shaking the earth. They sprinted through the battlefield, carving through Xoreth soldiers like wildfire. Adam's steel rod flashed in the sunlight as he drove it through the chest of an alien officer, tearing apart the circuits beneath its armor. The Xoreth began to fall back, but it was too late. Adam and the others had reached the base of the mountain, where the largest alien transport ship lay docked. This is our way up, Adam growled. The masked warrior stepped forward, gripping the side of the transport with both hands. With a grunt of effort, he lifted the massive craft, flipping it over with impossible strength. Adam climbed into the exposed wreckage, pulling apart wires and tearing out panels until he found what he was looking for, a control core. He yanked it free, and the alien craft roared to life beneath him. Get ready, Adam shouted as the transport's engines ignited, sending it rocketing toward the sky. We're going up. On the mothership, the Xoreth commander stood frozen as the display flickered. A red warning light blinked across the screen. One of their own transports was approaching. Identify that ship, the commander barked. The officer paled. It's human-controlled, sir. The commander's eyes widened. Impossible. But before he could react, the alien transport pierced the outer hull, slamming into the docking bay with a deafening crash. The doors slid open, and Adam stepped onto the bridge, his steel rod crackling with energy. Behind him, the other giants followed, their weapons glowing faintly in the dim light. Adam's eyes met the commander's. I told you, Adam said, his voice calm but deadly. You don't belong here. The commander's hand hovered over the control panel, but Adam moved faster. In a blur, he crossed the room and drove his rod through the panel, sending sparks flying. The cannons outside flickered, then died. The mothership shuddered, tilting as explosions rippled through its core. You should leave, Adam said, stepping back as alarms blared. Before Earth decides to return the favor. The commander hesitated, his gaze flicking between Adam and the burning control panel. Then, with a low growl, he nodded. The Xoreth fleet retreated, vanishing into the stars. But Adam stood at the edge of the docking bay, staring after them. They'll be back, he thought. But next time, we'll be ready.